Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
I'm number one fan, Tim.
Going to paint a picture for you. I'm coming down 35 from Faribault. It goes to the split. You can go straight towards Minneapolis, 35W, or you can go to the right towards St. Paul, 35E.
Okay, I got you. Now I know where you're at.
Every other time except for this time, I've gone 35W. But the construction zone is so fucking chaotic that I was just like, last month, I had a close call with somebody almost sideswiping me who wasn't paying attention to their goddamn lane changes. I'm going to take 35E. And that was a big mistake. And I'm going and I'm around Wagon Wheel Trail in Mendota Heights.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I know where that is.
So I'm going, I want to say 65, I think. Because the speed limit on most of 35 is 65.
55.
In that part, yes. Unbeknownst to me. But going out of town, when you're going, out in the sticks, through Burnsville and all that shit.
It goes up to 60, 65 down there, yeah. But where you're talking, it ain't that high.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. And I'm going, and I'm making a lane change. Well, I'm making a lane change, and there's this Asian lady in like a Buick Enclave fucking around on her phone. So I'm like, I am going to go get away from you. I make a lane change. I'm looking in my mirror. All of a sudden I look back. A state trooper vehicle's parked under a bridge. You know how much I love those. Mm-hmm. Juts out and stops quick, so I swerve back into the other lane. And then they pull out behind me, and I'm like, fucking goddamn it. Like, if they pull me over for that swerve maneuver, that is going to be hardcore bullshit that I will call them out on for the way that they jolted forward a foot.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
Fuck my life. So I get...
Do tell.
Yeah, so she gets behind me and she pulls me over, and I'm already like, son of a bitch. I got caught in their goddamn end of the month speed enforcement saturation bullshit because they had 2 or 3 troopers on that stretch. And you remember when you asked me what I consider a speed trap? That's a speed trap. Where that all they're doing is speeding. They're just tagging speeders. They don't give a shit about anything else.
No,
it's rapid fire.
It's not a trap.
Don't think of the word trap in the traditional sense.
Even
that's
if you
what
take
it's
it
called.
out of traditional sense. Okay, there's nothing telling you, go ahead, go faster.
No, you're still not... It's called a speed trap. It doesn't mean it's literally a fucking trap. Just like there's no such thing as an assault rifle argument. That's how I can frame it for you to understand in something similar.
I'm getting you. It's just, I don't know, whatever.
It's all they do is they sit there, they just tag speeders. They got nothing better to do but tag speeders.
Well, they realize people are speeding those freeways, and they go out there and make a show of force once in a while to kind of, hey, slow down.
That doesn't stop people.
It doesn't, but they do go out there and make a presence so that it doesn't get more out of hand.
So she pulls me over, and I've already got my wallet out with my ID and my insurance card. So I'm sitting there because I have 3 insurance cards because we have 3 vehicles. So I get the right one, and I'm sitting there. And I'm waiting for her to show up on my left. She shows up on my right. She's like...
Pick a card, any card.
Hi. And I went, oh, shit. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I didn't expect you to show up there. She's like, sorry. And then the first words out of her mouth, the speed limit here is 55. And I just said, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I don't normally take this stretch. I'm coming from Faribault. I normally take 35W. Trying to avoid the construction. So I've already said, oh shit, when she spooked me. Because she popped up out of nowhere when I expected her on the left and she came on the right, which
Don't
for her
you watch
safety,
when they
fine.
get out of the car?
I was looking down at my insurance cards. I want to make sure I get the right one I don't hand her the one for my Fusion or my wife's Traverse. Because nothing makes you look like a dumbass more than going through multiple insurance cards and you hand the wrong one to the cop because then they're going, is this fucking guy drunk?
No, it's just I have 3 of them here.
So I said to her, I'm like, no offense, but the way that you kind of jerked when you pulled out like that scared the shit out of me. And she goes, well, you should have seen me long before that. And I wanted to be like,
I was watching the dipshit driver in front of me.
Perhaps you are correct, officer, but here's the deal. I was making a lane change. There was a woman on her phone that was going over the line I wanted to get away from. And I don't normally make it a habit of expecting cars to lurk under fucking bridge abutments and edge out real quick and jerky. That's not something that that to me, what if she does that and I don't see her and I fucking hit her cruiser because of it? Just a nice little clip of my left driver's side light to the right side corner of her hood. Now I've struck a public service vehicle.
But if that public service vehicle was where it technically shouldn't be, I don't know what the laws are for law enforcement officers to park underneath those bridges, but I do know there's no U-turn signs there. But again, that's where they can turn around. But unless her lights were on, I would say she would be partially in the wrong. Yeah, so...
No, the lights don't come on until she gets behind me.
Yeah.
If the lights were on, I would have totally fucking seen her.
Like, if she jutted out and you nicked her, you could totally fight that in court, I would believe.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be like her strobes weren't on, she all of a sudden jerked forward and hit me. That's why they're really pushing these dash cams for cars now, just all cars. It like hangs from your rear mirror and it records. It's supposed to record forward and backwards. My ex has one. Mm-hmm. And I've seriously debated getting one of those because, I mean, in this day and age, you never know. Like, one of my buddies shared a story last night. As a teenager, he rear-ended a car, and he said he hit it pretty hard. It totaled both cars. Mm-hmm. But when he went up and talked to the lady to see if she was okay, she's like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. You know, she's looking around for her paperwork and everything. He's like, well, we should call the police and everything. Well, he says as soon as the cops showed up, she's like, oh, my neck, oh, my back, I can't move and everything. Like... A dash cam footage would have shown that...
It might have shown it, but it might not have picked up the audio. And that's
it wouldn't have picked up the audio, but you would see her moving around before, and the cops go, she's like, all of a sudden, she's like, oh...
Well, maybe delayed reaction,
the body language. It more delayed than that. I've gotten into a car crash,
right,
and it took damn near a full 18 hours before symptoms showed up that I had a back injury. So it takes longer than that. It doesn't go from, I'm fine, to, oh, my back! It's like, I'm fine. Oh, my back feels a little tight. Ooh, this really isn't feeling good. I better lay down. It's like, oh, my God, my back.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, when I didn't see her, about 5 seconds before I should have seen her, there was a trooper on the opposite side that had somebody stop. I'm like, uh-oh, somebody's getting pulled over. And then I look for my lane change, and I'm like, wow, fuck. Yeah. And she's like, do you have your license and insurance? I'm like, yeah, here you go. She looks at it. She hands me back my insurance. She takes my license. Says, I'll be right back. So she goes. She's gone not even like 35, 40 seconds. And I see her get out of the car with a piece of paper. And I'm just like, motherfucker. I have gone 21 years without a speeding ticket.
How's it feel?
It felt shitty because I wasn't intentionally speeding.
That doesn't matter.
Well, it does. When you have my kind of driving record, if you're like, I didn't fucking realize because I'm going with traffic, I'm paying attention to all number of other things and where the fucking signs are. And they're only how frequently do they post those signs? Obviously, every time there's a speed change.
Usually, every speed change, usually at every major intersection. So like a freeway and a freeway crossing each other, or a county road and a county road, or a major city street crossing a county road. You know, they try to do it that often. Otherwise, it's usually about once every 2 or 3 miles.
Okay, so I'm willing to bet that in the process of my lane change, looking in the rearview mirror for the lady in the enclave, and then the trooper, I bet you I was just passing the speed sign that was posted there. Because I was in the middle lane.
Yeah, I can't say, be like, oh, well, I know exactly where the speed limits are there. Yeah. But I'd have to say in that area, that speed was probably reduced prior to that. Not too much prior to that. But
I'm just saying the most recent posting that I might have noticed. And I probably should have been in the right lane because I would have been safe. She wouldn't have seen me. There would have been so many other fucking cars.
What probably got her attention was that you jerked into the left lane and you passed a car and then you...
No, I didn't jerk into the left lane.
You know what I mean. All right,
I was going into the left lane and I saw her and jerked in back into the middle.
So you didn't even get around the car. All right.
Yeah, I was trying to get the fuck past her. So she comes back and she hands me... She's like, all right, well, I gave you a written warning.
Written warning?
Yeah.
That's damn near a ticket.
Right.
That's a ticket without the fine.
Right.
I've gotten warnings without any kind of paperwork.
Yeah, I've only had one of those before, and it was many, many years. In fact, it was 2007.
I got one. I don't remember what it was. I was speeding.
So she's like, when you pull out, be careful because they're doing some shoulder maintenance up ahead. So just get a good speed and then move over from the right. And I'm like, okay. So as she goes to walk away, I'm like, so how fast was I going? She just goes, too fast. Walks away. Which immediately rubbed me the wrong way. Because I'm like, what the fuck is that shit? How can I reconcile in my mind that I was going too fast miles an hour?
Yeah, I was at a birthday party last night, and my buddy was telling me a story like that, and the cop had told him you were going too fast. No, it wasn't a cop. He was taking his motorcycle test, and he was on a 1,000cc crotch rocket, and they said, well, you need to get in second gear, speed up to get into second gear, and then you have to hit the brakes. Once you get past this line, you have to stop within this box. He said, well, that bike, it'll do 60 in second gear. So he got up to 60 and slammed those brakes, and he stopped. But he says the instructor walks right over, is like, you stopped in the box, but you went too fast.
I love it when it's vague and generalized like that.
Well, it's not like the test guy had a radar gun on him or anything, but you can tell when someone's going too fast. You're only supposed to do like 15 miles an hour.
Yeah. So here's the thing about too fast miles an hour. Let's say she actually gave me a ticket. She would have to put the speed that I was going on there. Mm-hmm. Or she might say, you were going this fast, I'll knock it down to this fast to cut your brake. You have to articulate that the person was going a certain mile an hour over. Because without that, how do they know? You might print it on the ticket, or let's say she didn't. She just checks the speed box and gives me a ticket. The crux of whether or not that stop can be considered legal is, does she have articulable, reasonable suspicion to stop me?
And this is where your training comes into play.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So you have to tell somebody. Her words were, the speed limit here is 55. She didn't say, do you know why I pulled you over? Do you know how fast you were going? Do you realize you were speeding?
Maybe she was on the rag and just kind of in an irritable mood.
No, it's because they were doing saturation enforcement. It's like a fucking assembly line where they pull over as many cars in a short period of time as they humanly possibly can to spike their numbers at the end of the month. That's why they do these enforcement campaigns, and I'm explicitly against them.
In your training, did they say this is what happens?
No, but this is literally what happens.
How do you know?
If they pull over only speeders, if instead of doing their job, they sit in one spot and only pull over speeders, and they do more stops per capita in one shift than they normally would in like a week, they're just trying to catch as many as possible. That's what they're doing. By getting as many, like, you ever notice they do the DUI enforcement? They had 343 DUI stops. They don't say how many actual DUIs they charge people with.
Yeah.
But they throw out that number to give the public a nice fuzzy feeling that they're making your tax dollars work for you.
Yeah. So what's wrong with them pulling over more people?
Because it's a focused enforcement. Instead of discretion on whether or not you're going to pull a car over, let's say cops usually have a range that they'll give you for wiggle room. 5 over, maybe up to 10 before they're concerned enough to pull you over. During these speed enforcement campaigns, they lower that threshold. So they're pulling over more people than they normally would.
Well, yeah, they're actually trying to enforce the law at that point. They're not just being like, 5 over, not really worth it. It's only a $80 fine, whatever. He'll fight it in court and get thrown out, waste everybody's time. No, that now they're actually, to my opinion, forcing the speed limit. I have no issues with them doing that.
So let's say that you are getting your house inspected after an exterior home project.
Mm-hmm.
And normally it's something as piddly as an additional 2 feet of roof in length of the house would require one more roof vent box on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're right there on the cusp. And the guy's like, technically you might need one more, but I think you're good. He doesn't enforce it. But let's say down the line he's up for review. And the city's actually quality control checking all of his work. So they say, no, it has to be to the T. So instead of him feeling like he can relax a bit and cut homeowners a break, which would then, do a little bit more for public relations and building trust in the city. Like, okay, well, we were right there on the cusp. He cut me this break. He explained to me the difference, and I accepted.
Like he was only 6 inches off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that there would be a double-edged sword because as a homeowner, it's just like, all right, sweet, thanks for catching me a break. But at the same time, he's got to watch out for his job and do his job. But, so if he told me you need to add an extra roof vent in there, well, now I'm calling everybody I know that does carpentry. It's like, hey, can you help me put another roof vent in?
I see, but that's the thing. That's the point of why he's saying it's right there, borderline.
Or he
could say you're fine, or he could say nope, do it. Like the guy that came to inspect my roof after it got done and said, "Oh, you need 5 more vents." I'm like, 5 more vents? Do you mean 5 vents total? No, you need 5 more. I called the city to ask about that and say my house never passed inspection. Well, the guy that came out and inspected your house retired. So he was a lame duck who just didn't give a shit.
Well, you're going to have those situations too because people are people. But, the other thing he could do, like if they came out and other inspector came out and measured the roof, was like, well, he doesn't have enough vents and this guy didn't tell him to get another one. He can argue that. Be like, he's only 6 inches off. Is it really going to make that much of a difference to put another vent in 6 inches off? What, you want 2 vents within a foot of each other? That's not going to do shit.
I think the cops should really only give a shit if you're going like 12 miles an hour over the limit and above. And if you judge by the general flow of traffic, if you burn by a cop and you're flying by all the other traffic, fine. Fair game. But then we're back to my argument that I hate when they hang out around bridge abutments like that. It's fucking bullshit.
They're supposed to remain inconspicuous.
Yeah, well. So it didn't sit right with me the rest of the fucking day. Literally ruined my day.
Was this morning or afternoon? It was afternoon.
This is early. Yeah. We're talking like 11 a.m.
Oh, okay. You made it sound like you were going home.
No, I was headed back to the office.
Okay.
So I got pissed off and did some screaming in my car with the windows up. Once I found a nice parking lot.
You are an angry person.
And then I punched my window. So my middle knuckle's been a little sore for a few days. And then I went over it in my head again and again with, well, you should have seen me long before that. And then the too fast. So I filed a complaint via email.
I was going to ask if you were going to file a complaint or something.
I did. And I basically stated that I did not care for her candor and that how do I wrap my mind around too fast miles an hour? Like, you need to give me a number. I got an email saying, what's your phone number? It's hard to have a constructive conversation via email. I gave my phone number. He's like, I'm going on my days off. I'll pass it off to this lieutenant. So it goes from a captain to a lieutenant who called me yesterday. And the trooper in question that stopped me, she's on vacation this week. But as soon as she comes back, he'll review the video. I'm assuming of her body cam.
I don't know how many. Definitely
cam.
Dash cam video, which will show her jerk forward and then your car going by in the middle lane. So he'll probably look for her car jerking forward. Like
no, it will show me move to the left and quickly back to the right.
Well, did you do that when you were right in front of her, or was it before you got to her? Okay.
Right in front of her. I fucking
so it should show her jerking forward and then you jerking back into the lane. Was your explanation? I thought she was going to pull out into that lane, so I got back over.
Yeah.
All right, so it should show that. And then when she walks up to the car to the right side, she should have audio and she probably has a body cam because they record audio, if anything.
Right. Well, hopefully he doesn't call me back and say, well, you swore at her. No, I didn't swear at her. I swore in front of her. Just because I used the word shit once by surprise, and the second time, I probably could have said scared the hell out of me. Would you care if I would have said scared the hell out of me? Because hell's technically a swear word, but I didn't say, hey, you crazy bitch.
Now, if your phone conversation where you were very cordial and you were very polite and all that, and he sees that and he'd be like, okay, well, she startled him and he said, oh, shit. Not, oh, God, you're a shit.
That's not the one that I'm worried about. So when I'm like, no offense, but when you jerked out like that, when you pulled out, you scared the shit out of me. It's.
Oh, you know what? I've watched a lot of cop videos. There's constant swearing. The cops don't seem to take it personally until you actually tell them you're a shit, you're an asshole.
Right. But that's the thing is that, cops look out for their own most of the time. Although they ironically also love it when other cops, quote, go rogue and they want to hunt them down. They are a very fucking... not a lot of loyalty there. As soon as they think one of them's up to no good, it's crazy how fast some of them turn on each other.
It destroys their image. The good cops, their image is being tarnished by this one asshole. So, yeah, you want to nail the bastard quick.
Yeah, I don't think that's a psychology. that I'm talking about. I'm talking about they're like, oh, that motherfucker, let's get him. Like, ha, I'm better than you.
I suppose. I mean, there's two ways to look at it.
Well, there's two types of people that get into policing. People that want to help people and people that just love to be in charge and like to catch people doing wrong, whether they're doing wrong or not. And that second category are usually the ones that become the crooked cops. Yeah. So he's going to call me back, and I assume he's going to obviously be on her side. I put in the email, I'm like, I'm not looking to seem like I'm, looking a gift horse in the mouth that she gave me a written warning and not an actual ticket, but still the way that she said some things.
I feel she could have been just a little more professional on point. Did you ever mention to him that you did take the training and everything like that? No. Okay. That probably wouldn't have helped you if you did.
No. I didn't want
to. I know what I'm talking about. I took this training. Just be like, oh, from my standpoint, she could have been a little more specific with details. She could have been a little more polite.
Or he could have been like, oh, did you go to college to be a cop? I'm a real cop. Shut the fuck up.
That's why I was like, it probably wouldn't have helped you if you put that information in there.
So, yeah, it was a shitty experience. We'll see how it pans out.
Let's see. My last experience with a cop, I think I shared it on here, didn't I?
Was that the one with the where's the fire? Are you trying to beat the fire truck to the fire?
That was back when I was like 20. No, it was last summer. I was leaving the airsoft field at like 11:30 at night because I did a night game.
Oh, the intersection?
Yeah, and then I my windows fogged up as I went around this curve, so I pulled into the turn lane and hit my four-way flashers. Well, the car that was waiting to turn left in front of me was a cop, and I didn't know it. Mm-hmm. And when I was just sitting there, he flashed his strobes quick. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm trying to get my defrost going. He came up behind me, and he was polite and everything like that, and asked me what I was doing, and he asked me... he seemed to know what airsoft was, but he's just like, is that a really good field to go to? I was like, oh, yeah, it's great. And he was polite, and he's just like, well, this is why I got behind you. And I was like, yeah, it's turn lane. I wanted to get over quickly. I could not see. I couldn't even see the lines 10 feet in front of my truck. So, and he didn't even give me a warning. He checked my information quick, and then I was on my way. So it was a very positive experience.
They can be. And I'm not shitting on the trooper. It's just vocal inflection and a few choice words rub me the wrong way.
No, yeah, I gotcha.
And I don't want to come off as a crybaby about it, but I'm just like, you know what? I feel like I'm within the right to speak up about this. Because, hey, if it's something where he said we can look at it and she can improve her training, it's, we always look to do that. Plus, she's a young trooper anyway, and I'm like, oh, like fucking great.
The one that stopped me is like, are you trying to beat the fire trucks? She was probably being snippy. The only reason it's funny is because I didn't catch the sarcasm or the attitude. Like, I didn't start a fire.
You know how cars have the automatic window button for the driver's side? You just hit the switch, it just goes up on its own?
Not all cars do that.
A lot of the new ones.
I know Fords don't.
Mine Fords do.
The Ford trucks that we had, no.
Oh, both my sedans do.
Do they do it the passenger side too?
No.
See, my truck does the passenger side.
So if I caught the sarcasm of the cop that said that to you, I would have said, really? And then I would just hit the button and just sat there and not looked at her as the window went up. And then I would have sat there a minute to see what she does. And then I would have just through the window said, would you like to try this again and you could be professional, or shall I call for another unit to come meet us so they can observe your behavior? Which would have really pissed her off, but she totally would have fucking had it coming.
I'm not sure if I had a cell phone back then.
Well, it's just funny to do that. In my head, it's like, just do that to a guy. Like,
see, and I just don't have the balls to do that. Like, it's a police officer. I don't want to be dragged out of my vehicle if I can avoid it. So I will participate to my best extent unless I don't recognize the sarcasm.
No, at that point, I would say you're fair game. You'd be like, the way she talked to me, I don't know what's going on with her. For all I know, I'm about to get assaulted by her because she's having a terrible day, or she's just a shitty person in general.
On the rag.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't use that as your defense. Just say that and be like, I didn't exactly feel safe. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It. That's at What Do We Call It. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann.
And I'm number one fan, Tim.
And that's the end.